Why are there so many shows starring Muppets and dozens of movies too? They said they'd watch every one and they mean it. It's something that they've got to do. So now they've pledged you a lifelong commitment. Muppets, Matthew and Sam.
Welcome to Kermitment, the podcast where two friends have vowed to watch all things Muppets. I'm Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And this week, we are continuing our journey through the last season of Fraggle Rock with 3 more episodes of Season 5 as we head into March of 1987 with Gone But Not Forgotten, Mokey, Then and Now, and Ring Around the Rock.
And they're feeling like important episodes. They're going out big, I feel like.
Yes and no, which we'll
Okay.
get into.
Okay.
There's some wild swings in this week's batch, some of
Sure.
which I think work better than others.
Okay, I can agree with that.
And some that I feel like are genuinely important, and others that I feel like are trying to tell you they're important.
Oh, I feel like we're going to disagree about something here.
Well, everyone can look forward to that battle we're going to have this episode. But before we get into that, I feel like we got to just announce the most special time of year, Sam.
Christmas?
Nope, the second
Oh.
most special time of year.
Oh, our birthday.
Yeah. We are now, when this episode is coming out, in September of 2024, which means that both of our birthdays are coming up, and the next episode will be released between both of our birthdays. So as loyal listeners of Kermitment might know, around this time every year, Sam and I pick out things for each other to watch that is not a Muppet thing, but
We
is
give ourselves a
tangent.
little treat.
Yeah. It's a little break from the Muppet babies of the world. Usually we try to make this thing tangentially related to either puppets or the Muppets in some way.
Mm-hmm.
In 2021, the first year we did this, we watched What About Bob, which was directed by Frank Oz, and Puppet Master 3, Toulon's Revenge,
Which
has puppets in it.
I think there was one person who'd worked on Dark Crystal in it. Or
I
something
think there
like
was, yeah, but that was not known when you picked it.
that. No, that's true.
In 2022, we watched a Halloween episode of Eureka's Castle.
Yep.
And the Scooby-Doo puppet movie, Scooby-Doo Adventures, The Mystery Map.
Weird one. That was weird.
It was a weird pick, I will be honest, but
It was a good time, though.
it was a good time, and the entire cast of performers was pretty much people who are also Muppet performers.
Yeah.
And then last year, in 2023, we watched the movie Project Alf and The Blues Brothers.
That was a good year. That was a fun year. All the other years were fun, too, but that one stands out to me.
See, when I was trying to remember these, that's the one I forgot.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think it was maybe because it was too fun. Like, those are just movies that we maybe would have just watched for fun anyways.
Remember they kept saying Alpha's going to bite people's penises off?
It did seem like a common threat because they're like, well, he's the perfect height to bite penises.
And his mouth shape really would feel like would make biting penises really easy, too.
I feel like it would make it harder.
I
They're
guess
going to bump into each other.
it depends on some things about the penis.
Well, that's not what we're here to talk about this week, Sam.
Okay.
We're here to talk about what we're picking for the next birthday episode. The next episode of Kermitment will be our special birthday pick episode.
Can't believe it. It comes faster and faster every year. I can't believe this will be our 5th one. Is that right?
Fourth one. Yeah.
Hey. Get a
Sam and
life,
I are both,
am I right?
Sam and I are both turning 37 years old. A number I don't love saying out loud,
No.
but is the reality of the situation.
Fortunately, I thought we were 37 for a majority of this year, so
that's the way to do it. Yeah. Like recently we had the experience where my wife thought she was younger than she was.
Ew, no.
That's the
that
worst.
would be bad. That would be bad. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thinking you're older and then finding out you're younger is a nice little treat.
Yeah, it's like you time traveled, just like my friend Mokey.
Well then, now for the fourth time, it's time for me to ask you, Sam, what did you pick out for us to watch this year for our birthdays?
Well, man, I thought we could watch like the first 3 episodes maybe of Greg the Bunny.
Oh,
Fox
okay.
show, Greg the Bunny, starring Seth Green. And it's if you don't know what it is, I barely know what it is, but I know it's about Seth Green is like an agent, I think, and his client is Greg the Bunny, who's a puppet bunny in a world where puppets are real, just like the Muppets. And I watched some of an episode and I was like, oh, they're probably gonna say something that we're both gonna regret hearing, but this is pretty cute, and there's some pretty cute puppets in it.
So you're saying the first 3 episodes of this show, which is there a place we can find this
There's a
online?
whole YouTube list of every episode.
All right.
So we're in luck.
All right. So Sam's pick is the first 3 episodes of the TV show Greg the Bunny, which I
And
will
they're
say.
22-minute episodes, so
All right.
yeah.
I will say when I had put out a thing on Twitter recently asking people for their favorite non-Muppet puppet shows, Greg the Bunny did come up quite a bit. I picked something that I will say we might have watched anyways for this podcast at some point, because I've been thinking a lot about how we handle Creature Shop movies. Because right now, there's not a lot of them. So we've been keeping up. We've been watching them. Next year around this time, I think we'll be talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which will be very exciting for us.
Mm-hmm.
But post Jim's death and into the 90s and 2000s, the Jim Henson Creature Shop starts doing a lot of wild things that I guarantee listeners of this podcast we will not watch all of, because those ain't Muppets. And we have, it's a little subjective whether or not we're going to watch these things. One that I'd say we probably would watch when we get there, but I kind of want to skip ahead because it's a staple of my childhood,
Okay.
is a little film from 1994,
Yeah.
starring common person on the podcast that we talk about, Rick Moranis.
Okay.
It's the
Oh.
Flintstones.
Oh, I love the Flintstones.
It's
That's
the
a great
Flintstones
movie.
movie,
That's a
starring
great
John
movie.
Goodman, Rick Moranis, Rosie O'Donnell. It's got a cast of just stars all the way down.
Yep. Kyle MacLachlan.
Freaking Halle Berry, Elizabeth
Oh,
Taylor,
Halle
Elizabeth
Berry's in
Perkins.
it. Right.
Yeah, Halle Berry plays Sharon Stone
Yes.
because they wanted Sharon Stone, and Sharon Stone said no, but they decided to not change the name because it was too good
Her
of a
name
rock
is-
pun.
Her name's just Sharon Stone. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and a very handsome John Goodman in this movie, I gotta say.
It's been interesting to see that happen, I think, through the years.
Yeah.
This thing where people post a picture of John Goodman as Fred Flintstone with
And people
the
go,
"Can I say
"Gadzooks."
something?"
Yeah.
Which I don't believe was the feeling at the time.
Yeah, probably not. I think he probably was supposed to be schlubby instead of just a beautiful hunk of man.
Yeah.
But God, I just watched this movie. No, not that we shouldn't watch it. I just
Yeah.
watched this movie pretty recently, and I love. This is a good movie, I think.
I also feel like it hasn't been that long since I've checked it out because it was such a big part of my childhood. I had the
Mhm.
McDonald's toys.
Oh,
I
yeah.
had other just like toys from Kmart or wherever. But yeah,
They did a
this
great
movie,
job with those McDonald's toys. They
Yeah.
the little houses with the cars inside. Is that what you're talking about?
Mhm, the
And then-
texture of that rock material they had going on.
And the cups too. They had
The
cups,
glasses, yeah.
the rocky feeling cups. The world used to just be full of more McDonald's toys, basically, than it is now.
So yes, next time on Kermitment, we will be watching the first 3 episodes of Greg the Bunny and the 1994 film The Flintstones.
Hell yeah! And the Flintstones is full of puppets. I never even considered that it was full of puppets, but it is.
And they're
indeed.
Jim Henson Creature Shop puppets.
I did not ever think of that.
And the last thing before we jump into Fraggle Rock this week, speaking of birthdays, I am going to be in New York for Jim Henson's birthday. There is a planned event at the Museum of the Moving Image on September 22nd. And as of right now, as of recording this, we don't actually know what is happening other than an event, a screening of some sort for Jim Henson's birthday. But for those that don't know, in the past, this has always been a day for Muppet fans to gather in New York, meet, chat, walk around the museum and look at the old puppets together. And yeah, I'm going to be there hanging out. So if you're in the New York area or you're planning on making this trip already, I will see you there.
I hope you have fun.
I'll bring a picture of Sam that everyone can
Make a
pose
puppet
with.
of me. Make a puppet of me.
Well then, Sam, time to ask the age-old question. What do we watch this week?
First, we watched Gone But Not Forgotten, air date February 16th, 1987. Wembley goes off on his first ever solo camping trip, only to be promptly crushed by boulders, as so often happens to Wembley. He wakes up sometime later in an unfamiliar part of Fraggle Rock, being tended to by a mud bunny, which we are told is one of the rarest creatures in the whole universe. The mud bunny's name is Mudwell, and he and Wembley get on like gangbusters, laughing it up and eating soup together. However, the next morning, Mudwell's disposition has changed. He's really grumpy, and he tells Wembley that he needs to get lost. So Wembley does get lost, but when he gets back home, he's confused and sad about why his friend treated him that way. His friends tell him that he should go back to the cave and ask Mudwell what his deal is, so Wembley goes back to the cave to do that. When he gets there, Mudwell is upset to see him, but eventually explains that mud bunnies have kind of weird lifespans and they can die at any moment, which I guess anybody can die at any moment. But they have this sort of weird thing where they can sort of see it coming based on like this pot of mud that's boiling in the middle of his cave. So they don't like to have friends that they can hurt when they die. As he finishes explaining this, he tells Wembley that he knew that it was close to his time when they met, so he pushed him away. Mudwell then lays down and dies. Wembley returns to the rock in shambles. His friends try to cheer him up by helping him mourn in different ways, but Wembley decides that he needs to bring some flowers to Mudwell's body and just kind of make peace in his own way. When he gets to Mudwell's cave, he finds that the body has kind of crusted over with mud. Just then, the mud body cracks open and a lizard crawls out. The lizard isn't Mudwell, but he does have the memory of a song that Wembley and Mudwell sang together. So Wembley and this lizard sing the song together again, and Wembley goes off happy that a little piece of his friend still exists out there in the world. The moral: you have to find a way to get on with your life after the death of someone close to you, but you can still carry that person in your heart in like a healthy, productive way that honors their memory. Meanwhile, in outer space, Sprocket hears on the radio that a truck bringing exotic birds to a pet shop has crashed. Doc, who doesn't know about the crash, brings home a parrot that he found. The parrot has amnesia, I guess. I don't really know why that part is important.
Well,
But
it's because obviously otherwise the parrot would tell him where he's from.
okay. That makes sense. Now that you say it that way. Sprocket and the parrot become friends, but Sprocket keeps hearing on the radio that they're looking for this parrot, and Sprocket's trying to keep Doc from finding out that this bird is being looked for, but Doc eventually catches wind and makes Sprocket return the bird. However, that evening, the parrot calls Sprocket on the phone so they can keep in touch.
That sentence, I tried to keep it in, but the parrot calls Sprocket on the phone is just a delightfully weird story beat that is true.
This whole Doc and Sprocket part, it's so elevated compared to what usually they're doing, like elevated in the nonsensical way, because Sprocket the whole time is listening to pet news on the radio.
Yeah.
It's like this cat turned 15, and it's just like this whole
My favorite part is that in that I think there's 2 birthdays announced. It's something like a dog that turns 3, and Sprocket's like, oh. And then they're like, and a cat who turned 15, and Sprocket's like, oh.
Wow.
Like, he's like, oh, shit.
Old cat.
Yeah, it's like the 100th birthday thing on the Today Show or whatever.
Yeah, it just like introduces this weird wrinkle to like the outer space part of this show, where there's also like the pets have their own society going on too, which a little too late to introduce that amazing concept. And then when Doc comes in and he's like, I found this bird, he was knocked out and he's got amnesia. It's just amazing.
It does feel like a pilot for a different sort of show.
Yeah.
It's
totally.
like a whole, like an alternate universe Doc and Sprocket.
Didn't occur to me that the parrot would be like, yeah, from a truck.
Pet store.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, obviously. Should have been the first place I called.
Yeah, that would make sense. Next, we watched Mokey Then and Now, air date February 23rd, 1987. Mokey drags Wimbley and Boober out to a sacred cave so they can do some first person primary research for her new play, which is about the story of Bloondig, a great Fraggle leader from a long time ago, when Fraggles were bald and never laughed. While in the cave, they find a mysterious drawing of a Fraggle, and then they do a sacred dance. There's a puff of smoke, and the drawing has disappeared all of a sudden, and things just kind of feel weird. So the trio leave the cave and they go back to the Great Hall, but they find a puzzling sight when they return. The cave is full of bald, mirthless Fraggles that they've never seen before. They seem to have traveled back in time. Somehow, the ancient Fraggles, I don't remember how, get it in their heads that Mokey is Bloondig, and they start to worship her, which irritates their leader, Fishface. Fishface tells Mokey that Bloondig, when she comes, will be able to move the sacred boulders without touching them. So Mokey gives a shot at moving the boulders and fails, and then fesses up that she is not Bloondig, which winds her, Boober, and Wimbley up in the dungeon. There they find Noodle Nose, the only Fraggle who laughs in this time, who's locked up because laughing is, of course, illegal. He hears that future Fraggles have hair, and he tells them that hair on Fraggles' heads is like the funniest thing he's ever heard. So funny that it would make anybody laugh. So Mokey gets the idea to show their captors her hair, which will make them laugh and give them the opportunity to escape the dungeon that they're in. And it works so well, in fact, that Fishface ends up stumbling into the boulders, moving them without Mokey touching them, which satisfies the ancient legend of Bloondig, and Mokey is declared their new leader. But Mokey tells them right away that in her time, they don't really have leaders so much. They just kind of dance their cares away and leave worries for another day. The ancient Fraggles like the sound of that, and they start dancing and laughing as Mokey, Boober, and Wimbley slip away back to the cave. Mokey then draws the same drawing on the wall that they saw earlier, and they do a dance and return to their own time, knowing that Mokey is Bloondig and that she basically set the course of Fraggle civilization. Weird. The moral, I don't know. Except for she destroys the monarchy at the end, I guess. But other than that, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Where, like they take some big swings. That's one of the ones I was talking about. As far as potentially reshaping the entire history of the Fraggles.
Yeah, but in such an unimportant way. Anyway, up in outer space, Doc built a prop time machine for local school play. He has Sprocket get inside to, I guess,
This
to
is
see
so
what it's like
mean.
inside. And while he's in there, Doc puts on a fake beard. And then when Sprocket comes out, Doc is like, Sprocket, why did you disappear for all of those years? And pretends to be an even older man than he already is. First, Sprocket is scared, but then he sees that Doc's beard is fake at some point. And then Doc starts to try to get Sprocket to go back in the time machine so he can pretend to send him back to the normal time and take the beard off. But Sprocket refuses, so that Doc will have to wear the beard forever. And eventually, Doc catches on that Sprocket's messing with him, and they just share a good laugh. But it is really mean. I thought about like doing this to a child and being like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've destroyed this child's brain."
Which Sprocket pretty much is a child.
He's trusting
he's like a
a
toddler.
child. Yeah, he's like 5, maybe.
I was gonna say about like 3 or 4.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, he can't speak, so
Yeah,
like
but
he's
he's-
immediately aged down into like 6 months old. But some of his actions age him up a little bit. So I feel like if we're averaging out his abilities,
Yeah, but he's such a little sneak sometimes and stuff, though. He's got a bad little attitude. Finally, we watched Ring Around the Rock, air date March 2nd, 1987. It's Ma and Pa Gorg's 513th anniversary, and on a Gorg couple's 513th anniversary, they have to renew their vows because ancient tradition tells them so. Junior is put in charge of planning the second wedding, which includes holding on to Ma's wedding ring, which is obviously a big mistake because the first thing Junior does is drop it in a hole, drops the ring right in a hole. The ring lands on Gobo's head, and then Gobo is so excited he found a cool ring. He brings it back home and gives it to Wimbley because Fraggle tradition says that when you discover a cool new thing, you have to share it with somebody. Just like this is what happened with Boober and the perfect marble, I think, right?
Yeah, it's the pass it on.
Yeah, the same thing. So then he gives it to Wembley and goes back to the cave to see if any other cool stuff will fall on his head. Instead, when he gets there, the cave gets dug up by Junior, who pulls Gobo out and tells him about the ring and why he needs it, which makes Gobo feel bad. So he goes back home to try to get the ring back, but he finds that Wembley got too overwhelmed trying to give the ring away, so he just threw it. And it landed in Boober's stew pot. And then Boober fished it out and he gave it to Mokey, who used it in a sculpture that got destroyed by Red, who then also threw the ring, which hit Uncle Matt in the head. And then Uncle Matt brought it to outer space to get rid of it because it was too dangerous to be down in Fraggle Rock. So as far as Gobo is concerned, the ring is just gone. He goes back to Junior to report the bad news. All the Gorgs are sad that they messed up the tradition, and Pa abdicates his throne and packs up to leave the kingdom because he's such a failure. Up in outer space, though, Doc finds the ring that Matt left up there, and he thinks it's a washer for his pipe, but he immediately just drops it down another pipe, and it falls out the other side of the pipe into a passing Doozer garbage truck. The truck dumps the ring into a dump where Philo and Gunge are looking for some interesting garbage. They find the ring and they bring it back to Marjorie. In the Gorg Garden, Ma tells Pa that they can't be apart. He can't abdicate the throne. They have to be together. And also at this point, they're so horny from not having had sex all day because they're not allowed to because they're not technically married at this moment, that they kind of decide to slightly update their tradition and give a different gift. And they decide that that gift will be Gobo. Meanwhile, Philo and Gunge are fighting over who found the ring, and Marjorie decides that they're being so annoying that no one can have it, so she takes it away from him and she throws it, and it just lands right in Junior's Bible that he's using to oversee the wedding, and the Gorgs use the ring instead of Gobo in the ceremony, and everybody's happy. The moral: this feels like a bit of a stretch, but traditions can be annoying and cause trouble, but they can be fun too, and you can always change them up if you get too horny. And then also in 1987, nothing too exciting happened in this time period except that the first Starbucks ever opened in Seattle on the 1st of March. And I used to work there, and Matt did too.
Yeah, we were baristas back in the 2010s?
Yeah, I would guess among the 100 worst baristas they've ever had, in my case at least.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like they probably had worse.
I did very little.
Right, but imagine all the people who did a lot but poorly.
Oh, that's a good point, Matt. I did a little bit and I did it okay. So maybe it was in the top 100. Who knows?
Yeah. I'd say solidly in the middle bottom.
Middle bottom?
Yeah, you said 100 worst. I'm promoting you to middle bottom.
I want to be in the top bottom.
Well, sorry. I don't think, based on your resume, I don't think you can.
Where do you think you were?
Solidly middle.
You would say that.
I mean, I don't remember any time messing up things, and I wasn't breaking any rules, I don't think.
Oh, I wasn't messing stuff up, but I was eating a lot of food.
Well, elsewhere in the world of Muppets around this time, on February 13th, 1987, Kermit and Miss Piggy appeared on Good Morning America to discuss Valentine's Day.
Oh.
Which unfortunately could not find that clip anywhere, couldn't even find any pictures from it. But I think it's notable because, as best I could tell, it seems like Miss Piggy and Kermit, to be fair, hadn't been doing much on TV in, the later half of 1986.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Miss Piggy. I don't really think she was doing anything in the past year before this. So, would have been a time where people were like, hey, Miss Piggy, what have you been up to? How's Valentine's Day going?
That's too bad.
Yeah.
It's got to exist somewhere. Right?
Yeah. I also imagine this is probably, again, because Frank Oz was busy making Little Shop of Horrors, which is why Miss Piggy wasn't around for a year. But yeah, I am sure that exists somewhere. Oftentimes these things will pop up when, Good Morning America wants to do a retrospective on the Muppets or something, and they'll pull out the archives. But until they pull out the archives, we are stuck with just the description of Kermit and Piggy discuss Valentine's Day, which they also seem to do in 1988 on Good Morning America a year later.
Do we have that clip?
Nope.
Ah, shit.
But also in March of 1987, Jim writes in his journal, casting in LA for Puppet Man.
Oh, no, don't do it, Jim. If only we could go back in time.
For those that don't know, Puppet Man is a pilot they made for a sitcom about a guy who isn't Jim Henson, but has a life similar to Jim Henson, only a lot less famous and less rich because he's
Yeah.
just a suburban dad who
Just
makes a
some
puppet show.
schlub.
There was apparently talks of Jim Carrey for the lead
Oh,
of this at one
wow.
point. It does not expand on what that means. Like, was he in the running? Was he auditioning? Was he just mentioned in a conversation?
Yeah.
But it's sort of an interesting timing because this was before In Living Color, right after Peggy Sue got married.
Oh, okay.
So this was very, very early
Yeah.
Jim Carrey. He was not yet like the $20 million famous actor.
And if he had hooked his wagon up to Puppet Man, maybe he never would have been.
If he had been cast in Puppet Man, we would never have Ace Ventura.
What a dark timeline that would be.
But the role ends up going to Fred Newman, to be cast as Gary. Fred Newman, the most recognizable thing to me on his IMDb is he goes on to be the voice of Skeeter, Mr. Dink, and Porkchop on Doug.
Oh, cool.
But also in the cast will be Richard Hunt as a puppeteer, and Jack Burns, who was the writer on The Muppet Show and The Muppet Movie, who gets cast as the director in the show, Bud Stone.
I'm excited to see Richard Hunt. I think that'll be fun. Because I feel like when we've seen him acting before, it's been pretty fun.
Yeah. And Puppet Man goes on to air in July of 1987, and we will talk about it in about a month.
So they actually showed it on TV.
Yes, they aired it as part of I think CBS maybe. We'll get more details on that as we get into watching it next month. But yes, it was part of a series where they were airing special pilots on TV to see what people liked. And yeah, they aired it to lukewarm reviews.
And everybody said, no. We won't be doing this.
Did not go any further, but we will watch that one episode and discuss it next month.
We have Alf. That's all we need right now. Is we got our puppet thing covered.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how much it feels similar to the show that they're making within the show. It looks like Eureka's Castle a little bit, like it's a dragon-based puppet show.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see how similar those feel. But the first episode we're here to discuss this week is February 16th, 1987's Gone But Not Forgotten, written by Laura Phillips and directed by Eric Till. It's worth noting that on Muppet Wiki, you'll see a note about this episode that says Richard Hunt described shooting this episode as an emotional experience for him. He had lost a great many friends to HIV/AIDS, and at the time of shooting had just lost his lover, Nelson Bird. According to episode writer Laura Phillips, the allegory to the friends lost in the AIDS epidemic was intentional. Phillips remarked that Hunt understood exactly what they were trying to do with the episode, and Mike Quinn observed that Hunt knew what he was doing. Hunt himself passed away, obviously, from AIDS-related complications 5 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I read that before watching the episode.
Oh, okay.
Which I feel like made the episode way more impactful than I imagine it maybe would have been.
Right.
And you can tell me, I don't know if you read that before or after. But for me, reading that and knowing that going into the episode, like every line felt more impactful. And I imagine people living through this time in the 80s maybe would have immediately picked up on the allegory that was being laid out in the episode.
Yeah, I did not read it until after I watched it. And it was I still like cried at the end of this episode. So
yeah, I would say some of that information came from a talk that I think Laura Phillips and Mike Quinn and Jessica Mack Stein did recently. And then some of it also comes from Matt Baum's Richard Hunt, the Gay Man Behind the Muppets video on YouTube, which is fantastic and everyone should go watch. And I will also throw in that Matt Baum also just last week did another video related to the Muppets, in that it's a Howard Ashman focused video that talks a lot about Little Shop of Horrors and the development of that.
Right.
So if you liked our Little Shop of Horrors episode and some of the history we gave you and want to get even deeper into Howard Ashman and more of the history, definitely go check out Matt Baum's Howard Ashman video. So even though we talked about this, it's very impactful, meaningful episode. It does kick off with Sprocket enjoying a pet news show on the radio.
I love it so much.
There's been an accident involving a pet store truck and some exotic birds escaped.
That's the hard-hitting news a dog's got to know.
And that's when Doc walks in and he found a blue and gold macaw on the porch, unconscious, with amnesia.
He must have amnesia.
Well, because I think the first thing that the bird says is like, who am I? Where are you?
Yeah.
Like,
It's really beautiful. It's like the silliest setup that still works that we've ever gotten. We've gotten dumber setups for sure, but this one is just like beautiful. Everything
One
about this is working for me.
one thing I think I misunderstood while watching it and didn't realize until like the second or third time they show Doc and Sprocket
Mhm.
is I thought the conflict here was that Doc was saying, "We don't know who this pair belongs to," and Sprocket was like, "Oh, I heard on the radio it's the pet store."
Right.
I thought Sprocket was trying to tell Doc the answer.
Yes.
But then later on, it's sort of revealed that Sprocket was actually trying to keep that information from Doc so that
Mhm.
he could keep his friend, the parrot, around.
I had exactly the same issue where partway
Okay.
through I wrote, I don't know what Sprocket's trying to do here.
Okay. I'm glad I
Uh,
wasn't the only one.
I don't know. Yeah, there needed to be a part where Sprocket like unplugs the radio or something while it's partway through telling the story or something, so that Doc doesn't hear it. But yeah,
Right.
it is really unclear. And Doc seems like the kind of guy who would also be like, "Yeah, fuck, we can just keep this parrot. Who cares?"
Yeah, because what happens is, at least from my memory of it, is that the news report happens and it happens to just end as Doc walks in the door. And
Yes.
so to me, it felt like Sprocket was a little frustrated, where it's like, if you had walked in 3 seconds
Yeah.
earlier, you would know that this parrot goes to the pet store. But I'm a dog and I can't just tell you that's what happened. So
Uh
we have
huh.
to struggle here.
Yeah, and I think
Um,
Sprocket also is capable of bringing the parrot to the pet store himself. But also there's no indication that he really likes the parrot that much. It's not
right.
like
We see him feeding it one time.
yeah, it's not like he's like the parrot could be like you're my best friend or something. There's no it doesn't they don't have a friendship like Mudwell and Wembley do. It's not built up the same way.
No, and I think that's part of the bigger problem with the Doc and Sprocket segment is that it's obviously the purpose of the Doc and Sprocket segments is often to draw a parallel between what's happening to them and what's happening down in Fraggle Rock.
Right.
And they are so drastically different in tone
Uh-huh.
and meaningfulness that it makes it even more silly that the
Yeah.
Doc and Sprocket thing is about a parrot with amnesia.
Yeah, I also wrote after when Wembley got hit by those rocks, I wrote Wembley wakes up with amnesia because I just assumed that he
Right,
was
that
going
was
to
the
wake up with
tie-in.
amnesia. But then I deleted that when it was clear that that was not, and that the tie-in was pretty minimal at best.
Mm. Yeah, well, down in Fraggle Rock, Gobo is training Wembley for his first solo overnight hike. Wembley is, I think, surprisingly excited for this adventure.
He's pumped when he's a little more cowardly about this stuff, but
Yeah,
he's growing.
they put Gobo in the role of the nervous parent
Mm-hmm.
who's very worried about Wembley going out on his own, and Red has to comfort Gobo and be like,
Yeah,
"Hey, he's a big boy.
it's
He'll
all
be
right,
fine."
bud. Yeah.
Wembley heads out, starts searching for his camping site when suddenly rocks start falling from the ceiling. He avoids the first couple, but then a rock slide happens and buries this fool under
I
another
feel
pile
like
of rocks.
every week for several weeks of us talking about Fraggle Rock, he has been buried under rocks. This is
There's
getting
only
more and more common.
there's only so many kinds of danger you can put cave dwellers in.
I suppose danger that isn't like you're gonna get eaten.
Like
It
if you
does
went
kind of,
spelunking every week, the most
yeah.
common thing that's going to happen to you is probably a rock slide.
I would guess drowning is like tied for
Mm.
first place, and just getting stuck. But those aren't as fun as a cartoon rock falling on a cartoon character's head. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we don't want to see Wembley gasping for breath underwater every week.
Oh no, no, that would be that would be scary. The little Sonic the Hedgehog sound coming
Yep,
out of him.
precisely.
Don't.
If I was wearing my Apple Watch right now, I probably would have just said your heart rate is increased based on hearing that scary drowning music. Well, Wembley wakes up from being knocked out by the rocks to see that he's being taken care of by a mud bunny, one of the rarest creatures in the universe.
Not a very rare name for a rare creature, though.
Mud bunny?
Yeah. Mud and bunnies, two of the most common things in the whole world, I would say.
Right, but how often are they combined, Sam?
I guess that's true.
As he explains, he's like, how many mud bunnies have you seen? And Wembley says, one. And he's like, well, how many things have you seen less than once?
That is really good logic.
I guess. There's probably like cars in the world that I've only seen once. Doesn't mean it's the rarest car in the world.
That's true. Yeah. The mud bunny thing, like that species
Mm-hmm.
is so strange in like a really specific way that I like.
Yeah.
But like their name, they're not bunnies, but they're called that, and just their whole life cycle thing. They're probably like the weirdest creature I feel like that Fraggle Rock has ever invented, but also very captivating in a way that some other of the weird creatures they've invented have not been as much.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was, I'm sure in part due to the nature of the allegory here, but Richard Hunt's performance in this is
Yeah.
so beautifully understated in a way that not every Fraggle performer would always do for a random one-off
Yeah.
character. Like
Right.
from the get-go, Mudwell, the Mud Bunny, is sort of calm in a
Mm-hmm.
way that we don't necessarily experience other Fraggles.
Yeah. He's just sort of a nice, chill dude.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's an extremely effective character in every way. Like the performance, the story, the whole episode. It flies by in a way where I think in the past, sometimes I've had a problem with Fraggle Rock episodes when it feels like they didn't take enough time to explore the full story.
Yeah. Right.
This one moves quickly, but I think hits all the right notes along the way.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, he spends a lot of time with Mudwell in the beginning, which is like, that's the important part. And then after that, it is kind of like, try morning this way, try morning this way, try morning this way. But like the fact that they set the table so well at the beginning is something that they not often, when there's an episode that doesn't work, it is maybe because they didn't spend quite as much time building up the initial thing, but rushing through all of it.
Yeah, I think they do a lot of telling, not showing at times,
Mm-hmm.
where I think there's a version of this episode where they tell you Wembley made a new best friend.
Mm-hmm.
Or they just greet each other, and then Wembley goes back and is like, guys, I met this amazing
I met this
person,
great guy.
Mudwell.
Yeah, right.
But because we get the song, Just a Dream Away, where Mudwell sings a nice little song, apparently the only song he knows. After that, Mudwell and Wembley bond over like 5 different things. And we
Yeah.
see their friendship really grow, and we see the connection they make. And yeah, like watching this, you feel like you want those two to be friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he goes back and tells the other Fraggles about it, like it doesn't feel phony.
Yeah, right. Like he's almost could be like another character in the show if he didn't die.
Well, Mudwell makes Wembley some peach and pepper potage with turnip toast, which is Wembley's favorite food. And Wembley, who maybe has a concussion and should get checked out by a doctor,
Yeah.
falls asleep again, which is a little concerning.
Well, their eyes are always so dilated. It's really hard to tell.
But yeah, when he woke up from another nap, I was a little concerned from him.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and there's also like opportunities where I don't know. A lot of this felt like it was going to be a dream or something. There was like
Yeah.
it felt like it could have been a dream, or it felt like Wembley would have gone back and said, "I met a mud bunny," and everybody would have said, "No, you didn't."
Right,
But
yeah.
I'm really glad that didn't happen. Also,
Yes, it easily could have been, Red's Dragon or
Yeah.
Red going to outer space kind of episodes where
yeah, right.
it's like, we don't believe you.
Yeah, when Wembley meets a fantastical creature, everybody says, "Okay."
Yeah. Wembley wouldn't lie, unlike Red.
Red is a notorious liar, though, which is true, I guess.
Well, when Wembley wakes up from his second nap, he's sort of wondering where Mudwell has wandered off to. And we see Mudwell watching him from a distance.
Menacingly.
Yeah.
Seemingly.
And when Mudwell comes back, he is very upset and very aggressive
Yeah.
and trying to get Wembley to leave. But don't forget, up in outer space, Sprocket has to feed the macaw.
He's feeding a bird.
And they hear the pet news again about the missing bird. And this is the time when Doc comes in, just missing the message, and talks about going to put up some posters to find the owner. And even then, it's still unclear whether or not Sprocket is in favor of that idea.
This was when I was most confused. Because, yeah, I wrote, Sprocket is maybe trying to hide the parrot from being looked for from Doc? ?
Yeah.
But then that is what happens. But
yeah, later on they laid out clearer.
This is like the only time I feel like we've had a Sprocket body language fail, where I have not understood what this wordless character is trying to tell me.
Well, Wembley returns home and does not want to talk about his trip because he's so upset that Mudwell was such a jerk to him and kicked him out. Boober, who I feel like we haven't really spent any time with lately.
We're going to spend a lot of time with him this week, though.
We thankfully, yes. He comes to tell Wembley that he must eat even if he feels bad. And he's even made his favorite food, a peach and pepper potage.
No, he doesn't understand the weight of that food.
But then, in the middle of this extremely heavy, important episode, one of the funniest things that's ever happened on Fraggle Rock happens.
What? What is it?
So Wembley's upset, runs out of the cave. All the other Fraggles are trying to get him to talk about it, and he won't. Gobo gets fed up with Wembley not telling them what's going on and just yells, "This has gone on long enough. Now I'm going to get Wembley to tell us what's going on, even if I have to sit on him until he does."
Okay.
And then we get a hard cut to Gobo actually sitting on Wembley.
I totally missed that somehow. I don't know what I was doing.
The next shot, he's just sitting on Wembley, and Wembley is saying everything about what
That's
happened with
cute.
Mudwell.
Oh, okay. I like that.
But this felt like a line that a Fraggle would just say.
Uh-huh.
It's like, I'm going to sit on him until he tells me. But the fact that it pays off immediately with Gobo sitting on top of Wembley and Wembley being like, and that's when Mudwell kicked me out.
Oh, that's great. I did not notice that.
Well, Red tries to tell Wembley, hey, if someone's treating you badly, you shouldn't be friends with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Wembley says, but you treat us badly all the time.
Yes, I love Red. Red's my most relatable character to me.
I also love a Fraggle calling out another Fraggle for it's like, hey, yeah, but your personality
You're
trait is
mean.
sort of that you're kind of rude all
You're
the
kind
time.
of a dick, yeah. Is that true? Does she treat them most poorly of any of them?
I think she treats Wembley the most poor of any of the other Fraggles,
Yeah,
probably.
I suppose
Like,
so.
she's too much of a chosen,
Yeah.
She's not the leader, like Gobo's the leader, but she often is dictating what activities they're going to be doing.
And she tends to be outspoken about her problems with other Fraggles in a way that the rest of them aren't, for sure.
So this
Though
has been
Gobo,
building
I
up
think-
inside of Wembley for a while.
I would say on the whole, if you looked at every episode, Gobo is more often actually actively rude than anybody else.
Yeah, I think there'd been more confrontation because they put Gobo in the choice of the place of leadership.
Yeah,
But sometimes that does come to a head.
Yeah. She's the Raphael of the group for sure, though.
Ooh, yeah. We'll take
She's
that.
cool but crude.
Well, the problem is there's 5 of them and 4 turtles.
Yeah, and also
we can't do a
several of them.
one-to-one.
I think several of them are Michelangelo too, and maybe none
Several?
of them. Well,
I think Wembley's Michelangelo.
but I think Mokey can be Michelangelo too.
I think Mokey's got to be the Donatello.
Oh, I think Boober's the Donatello, even though that doesn't match up in a lot of ways. Anyway,
Maybe
I mean,
there's
obviously
not a
Gobo's
Mokey.
Leonardo.
Yeah. Maybe there's just not a Mokey. Is she Splinter?
Maybe so. I think depending on the series you're watching, Michelangelo is either Wembley or Mokey or a combination of the two. Where sometimes he's like radical man, and sometimes he's like radical man. You know, there's a difference there.
Well, Gobo encourages Wembley to maybe just go and talk to Mudwell. As he says, we all act weird sometimes, but we just talk about it. And there's always a reason we are acting weird, so just go ask him.
Very emotionally mature.
Yeah, I think Gobo shows a lot of emotional maturity in this episode.
Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe Gobo. Do you think Gobo knew his great uncle Matt or his great uncle Gobo?
Like he's been through.
Yeah, is he the
he's
only
experienced
one?
death.
Yeah, I guess he's experienced the death of his Thimblebug.
I mean,
perhaps.
Yeah, it's a weird unanswered question of the Fraggles is how often are Fraggles dying off of
how
natural
often-
causes?
Well, the world's oldest Fraggle does say that he's known people who died. So
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, you don't become the world's oldest Fraggle without having a bunch of people around you die.
What he doesn't say is that he killed all the rest of them.
I mean, he might as well have. His tone in this episode is out of place. Well, we cut back to Mudwell, who is feeling extremely guilty for what he's done to Wembley. So Wembley marches in and demands an explanation, which Mudwell tries to give, saying that, the problem is that Fraggles and Mud Bunnies are just too different,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't the real problem. But Mudwell does end up letting some things slip, saying a Mud Bunny never knows when his time will come.
Mm.
But the mud is ready, and now the time has come.
Yeah.
So he does know.
He does kind of know. Yeah. There's like
He doesn't know always,
a-
but I guess this mud thing can maybe come out of the blue.
There's a visual indicator, not unlike the Beast's rose, perhaps, which I don't know when the petals drop off the rose,
Right.
if there's like a time, or if he just knows once they're all gone, they're gone, but he's not quite sure when that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Maybe not everyone watches this episode and feels this way, but this reminded me of A Walk to Remember.
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you remember
yeah.
that
Right.
movie, where the girl in the movie has cancer and so does not want to get close to anyone.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I thought of when watching this was
Uh-huh.
like another piece of media where this thing happens, where somebody's like, "Don't get too close to me.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't fall in love with me."
Right.
But too late. Wembley has already fallen in
He's
love
in
with
love.
Mudwell. So Mudwell lays down, not in the mud like I thought maybe he was going to.
I think that like they probably wrote it so that he went into the mud, but then they were like, well, then we'll have mud all over this puppet. So
Then we got to make
can't.
more than one puppet.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Like, absolutely, he should have gotten into the mud, or else what's the point of the mud?
Yeah, it did seem like he would just disappear down into the mud, Terminator style,
Yeah, yeah.
never to be seen again.
They could have figured out a way to do that.
But he lays down, says goodbye. Wembley tries to wake him up, but makes it very clear to us, the audience, Mudwell has died.
That a character has died on screen in Fraggle Rock.
We watched Mudwell die.
Yeah.
Well, there's quite the whiplash as we cut back to Doc and Sprocket, where Doc has learned the truth about where this bird belongs.
Ned snitched.
Yeah, and Doc is mad at Sprocket.
Yeah.
This is the first real inkling that Sprocket has been keeping something from Doc.
This is when it all becomes clear what's happened, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, well, Ned Schimmelfinny told me that him and Fluffinella were listening to Pet News, your favorite show, and they found out about this bird that came from a pet store. What do you have to say about that, Sprocket?
Well, nothing. What can I say?
I'm a dog.
That's the long and short of it, bud.
Well, the tone shifted back as we go back to Fraggle Rock, and Wembley is sobbing in the corner of the cave, and the other Fraggles are not quite sure how to help. Boober tries my favorite tactic, which is having them both go under a blanket and scream it out.
I wrote basically the same thing too. I said that's my preferred method of handling things as well.
It seems to be Boober's favorite.
Yeah.
Wembley does not do as well with it, but Boober screams for a solid 20 seconds.
Yeah, that is a great scene. I loved that.
Mokey tries out some poetry, which also doesn't
memorial
work.
service kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, Wembley just wanders off at one point. Just like, fuck this. Gobo brings in the world's oldest Fraggle to help out. He thinks because, hey, this old guy's probably known some death in his life.
Yeah.
Maybe he can make this a little better.
I love how Gobo's like literally throwing the world's oldest Fraggle around too. There's like 2 or 3 times where he's like pushes him down on the ground, or like I think he like throws him into the scene in the first place because he's like, look, you useless old turd, you better help my friend.
But it turns out world's oldest Fraggle sucks and keeps cracking jokes.
Well, okay. You say that, but that's what worked. I like this part because I feel like there isn't it's not valueless to approach it that way also. Like all of it's valid, but this is the one that does at the end make them laugh. You know?
True. It does lighten the mood a little bit. For the majority of the time World's Oldest Fraggle is there, it seems like he's a nuisance.
Yeah, he is being nasty.
But when he sort of gets a little introspective, I think is what helps them. Because and I think he doesn't even necessarily mean to crack a joke.
Exactly, yeah.
But what they find funny is when he's referring to dying as
a change of scenery.
A change of scenery, that's right. Like he's like, well, at least once I die, I'll have a change of scenery. And they're like, change of scenery.
I do think I guess an important part of it is that he is not intending to be helpful. He accidentally is helpful, but...
Yes, he is actively trying to be harmful for most of his time. But laughter does end up being the thing that helps out the most.
Mm-hmm.
So Gobo and Wembley wander off laughing. And Gobo tells Wembley a story about a pet thimblebug he had when he was little. Part of the thing I think Gobo could have left out that would have been a little bit more helpful is that when he says he doesn't know if it died,
yeah,
or if
that
maybe it just ran
necessary.
away.
We saw a character die in front of our eyes, so I think you can say that a unseen bug died, and that's probably okay.
It also lessens the impact a little bit if Gobo's like, I didn't care enough to really know what happened to my pet thimblebug, but I was sad in the same way you're sad.
Yeah.
But he kept the thimblebug's nest to remember his pet by. And so they discuss having things to remind you the people that are gone. But Gobo rightly points out it doesn't have to be a thing. It can just be a memory.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can remember the happy times you had with Mudwell. And in another turn of emotional maturity, even says maybe you're just not ready to think about the happy times right now, but someday in the future, you can look back on those.
Yeah, really good best friend moment here.
Yeah,
from
this felt like
Gobo.
an episode that I'm sure through the years people have shown to children as like a, hey, let's talk about grief in depth a little bit, because
Yeah.
this does seem like it would be genuinely helpful.
Yeah, I think so too. But also, it seems like Wembley doesn't take any of their advice necessarily and kind of like makes up his own way to. I don't like what he does isn't necessarily what Gobo tells him to do when he goes back to the grave, right?
Well, I think it's a little hard to tell what Wembley's full intentions were,
Mm-hmm.
other than to sort of say maybe a better goodbye.
Yeah, I suppose once a lizard hatches out of the corpse of your best friend.
Plans change.
Yeah.
Because Wembley does go back to Mudwell's home and finds a sort of mud sarcophagus laying there next to the pond. I hate to say this, but it looked like chocolate and looked kind of tasty.
It looked delicious. It did. You're right.
Looked like an Easter bunny.
Yeah.
Can we get an Easter mud bunny?
Easter mud bunny. It has a gummy lizard inside of it.
Come on, Jim Henson
This should have
Company.
been a product back then. You guys would have
It should
been
be a product
rich.
now. Come on.
It would be the kind of thing where it's like Fruity Pebble cereal, speaking of the Flintstones, where it's like there's Fruity Pebble cereal, and I would guess a not insignificant portion of people only think that Fred Flintstone is the Fruity Pebble cereal guy.
Right.
And never existed before that. It would be like today still there were Mudwell candy bars, and everybody was like, love these Mudwells. No idea what this is, but Mudwell.
The idea of like a chocolate Easter mud bunny that has a gummy lizard inside.
That sounds great.
It sounds great.
That can be our first cooking stream.
Oh, we're gonna actually not just like invent the product and let people make it. We're gonna try and make these.
Yeah, we'll make a pilot version.
Okay.
Yeah.
That seems way more difficult. Well, the delicious looking sarcophagus suddenly cracks open. Only a lizard who is not Mudwell pops out.
Yeah, very strange. But again, in a compelling way. Like, why? But also, it kind of is like, okay. Was there like a lizard egg in Mudwell his whole life?
Great question. Because they don't, I think rightfully so, they made the right choice. They don't answer a lot of these questions. But initially, the lizard is like, I have no idea who Mudwell is. I don't know who you're talking about. Never heard of the guy. So Wembley's disappointed and is going to leave the flowers that he brought. I guess that was the main reason he went back, was to say goodbye and bring some flowers to Mudwell's gravesite. Decides to give them to the lizard as a new housewarming gift. And Wembley starts humming Just a Dream Away from earlier in the episode. And the new creature is like, hey, wait a minute. I know that song. How do I know that song? I haven't existed for more than 5 seconds.
No, don't think about it too hard. It's horrifying.
But they start singing together. And much like every good Fraggle Rock song, the second time you hear the song, the lyrics are more meaningful. They say, we'll meet again someday, just a dream away. So, yeah. Wembley returns home, doing much, much better. And Gobo very sweetly checks in on him to make sure he's okay and has accepted Mudwell's fate.
What a great, weird, abstract thing that so, I feel like, accurately makes you feel like the way that life can be horrifying sometimes, like inexplicable, and also like inexplicable, nice, and scary all at the same time, where you're like, why did a lizard come out? But also I'm happy he's here, but also
right.
Yeah, just like the perfect bittersweet thing in a very strange way.
Well, and I think it shows a nice level of acceptance from Wembley of, this is the way things are. I can't do anything about that. So I'm going to remember my friend Mudwell while also maybe having this new lizard friend.
Yeah.
And then the episode does end with Sprocket being sad that his friend had to go away too.
But his friend just like lives down the street or something.
And is able to call him on the phone.
Yeah.
Which he does.
I wonder if he dialed himself.
But yeah, I do wish there was a little less Doc and Sprocket in that episode, just because I think their story cuts into the emotional heart of it a little bit. But I think the episode overall was completely fantastic, even though we had no Gorgs, Trash Heap, or Doozers.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I think Wembley and Red, I think, are the two best characters at holding stories together themselves. But I think
Mm.
Wembley is the best at it for sure. So you don't really like even need anybody else in a Wembley story, and this one
Right.
almost doesn't have anybody else. It's also interesting. Like I think it's such a smart and very purposeful choice that baby mud bunnies didn't come out of Mudwell.
Right.
I just think there's something that lizard is just so specific in a way that I don't quite get, but I also do get at the same time. I don't know. This is probably my favorite episode of Fraggle Rock, I think.
I was going to say that answers my next question of how many stars did you give this episode?
I gave it 4 stars.
That makes sense.
It's the only one that's actually made me like tear up.
Yeah, no, it is a fantastic episode of not only Fraggle Rock, but just television in general.
Mm-hmm. And the Doc and Sprocket thing doesn't bother me because I was so delighted that he was listening to a news station just for pets that kind of got me through the rest of it.
I think I liked it more until I realized that I had gotten it wrong.
Yeah, that was a little frustrating to be like, you've done this so well so many times that to do it badly in this episode that's otherwise perfect is disappointing.
Well, our next episode is February 23rd, 1987's Mokey, Then and Now, which I'm now realizing is an interesting title for this episode.
Why? Because it doesn't make sense?
Yeah, not really.
It doesn't really.
It centers it very much around Mokey's experience. I think we even predicted that we would see like a Mokey flashback.
I thought it would be the origin story of why Mokey was the way she was, but it's actually the origin story of why Fraggles are the way they are.
Yeah.
It's all Mokey's fault.
Or it's all thanks to Mokey.
I suppose, depending on... Yeah, I mean, they're doing fine, but they were doing bad in the past. I guess you're right.
This episode's written by Jocelyn Stevenson and directed by Eric Till. Episode kicks off. Doc has built a model of an authentic time machine.
Yes.
Is the way he describes it.
What could that possibly mean? Does that mean time machines exist in this universe?
I think to me, it says Doc thinks he could build a real time machine if he wanted to and tried hard enough.
If he put his heart into it, yeah. I suppose.
If he went back to his tinkering ways, I bet I could build a real time machine.
It's funny that he says that and Sprocket hears him say that and is still like, this must be a real time machine. It would have been more fun maybe if Sprocket wasn't there when he finished it, and then Sprocket walks in and he's like, I have a devilish idea. I'll trick my friend Sprocket.
Which he built this time machine for Miss Peelywally's class play.
Good name.
We've gotten so many new names and people introduced in just the last 3 episodes.
Yeah, maybe Doc's come out of his shell.
Or he's just given up on Miss Ardath.
He hasn't talked about her too much lately, has he?
Yeah, he's given up hope that their romance will ever...
Well, she's only 35, is that right?
Yeah, I guess that's true. She was... Maybe he found out also when we found out how young she was, and he was like, oh, sorry.
Oh, maybe she's got like the people are like, Gen Z people look so old. Maybe I said this already, but yeah, she just looks really old.
Yeah, so he's like, hey, good looking. And she's like,
unfortunately,
you're old enough to be my dad.
Unfortunately, I thought you were 70. So you have some other things to worry about, Miss Ardath.
Yeah. Now he's just talking about moving away with Ned Schimmelfinney.
Can you imagine being 35 and opening a bed and breakfast?
That sounds delightful, Sam.
It does sound really nice, actually.
You know who else does that?
Lorelai Gilmore.
Correct. That is the right answer.
Wow, and she had a child as a teenager, too, so she was really on top of it. We're not doing anything with our lives.
That's the lesson to take away from Gilmore Girls. Lorelai Gilmore, always making the right choices.
Well, in business, she's pretty good at it, actually.
Yes, true. I'm saying in personal life.
She has acumen from her father, of course, and her mother helped, too.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Man, we just got to do a Gilmore Girls podcast.
Somebody unfortunately already did. Well, famously. So famously, yes. They got to be in the show.
They did get to be on the show, which, I mean,
oh,
that's sort of a dream, right?
We could talk our way into a Muppet thing.
Put us in the Muppets.
Yeah.
Well, Doc tries to talk to Sprocket about time travel, which Sprocket just seems kind of bored by, until Doc encourages Sprocket to get inside the time machine, try it out. Doc presses some buttons, shakes it around a bit, and then Doc slips outside for some reason.
Yeah, I was like, is he gonna... He doesn't need to slip outside to put a beard on. He doesn't change clothes. And if he did change clothes, he shouldn't go outside to do that either.
No, but it adds to the lore, I think, because when Sprocket comes out, Doc is coming into the workshop.
Oh, I see.
So he's like returning home. He's living a
Yes.
life years in the future.
Yes.
But yeah, he dresses up like an even older man.
That
Sprocket
is funny because he's very old.
Right. Like, if he grew a beard, it would be white. So it's not like he
It's
needed
not
to be like,
crazy. Yeah.
oh, I'm an old man with a white beard.
Yeah, it could be like 2 months later or something.
Yeah. But as Sprocket comes out, Doc says, Sprocket, where have you been all these years?
Brutal joke.
Down in Fraggle Rock, we learn that Mokey's putting on a play called The Legend called Blundig.
Yeah, this is fucking insane. I was like not following what anybody was talking about.
There's a lot of random names, and then suddenly they introduce time travel, and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm just along for the ride on this one.
And who is Blundig? Even by the end of the episode, I'm still like, where did this idea come from?
I thought this was going to be sort of like a, don't meet your heroes.
Like the frozen Mel or whatever from the Back to the Rock.
Icy Joe.
Icy Joe, yeah.
But yes, like basically a founding fathers suck kind of episode.
That's what I thought too.
That we thought Blundig was this great all-powerful leader. We're going to time travel back and find out Blundig sucked.
Yeah.
But
Well, I also figured out pretty quickly that she was just going to be Blundig. Like when I saw that drawing and she was like, ooh, familiar. I was like, well, okay. I know the whole episode now.
It doesn't make more sense, though, to
Absolutely
figure it
not.
out.
No. It's a time loop. I mean, it's impossible. So.
Yeah, Blundig, the Great and Wonderful, was apparently real. That's the first wrinkle. Is like they introduce this concept as we're doing a play about a character like the Great and Wonderful Blundig, and you're like, okay, this is kind of weird. They're doing a play about these characters, and then Mokey's like, yes, and all of this actually happened. The play we're doing is a historical retelling.
It did happen. She was there.
Right. I'm saying as a viewer of this episode, trying to keep up with the plot lines of them saying, we're going to do a play about Blundig. And I'm like, that's a silly name. Fun play, though.
Yeah.
And then them revealing, and Blundig is a real historical figure. You're like, oh, I'm learning maybe too much.
Yes, definitely.
Because they also have to wear shower caps because in Blundig's time, Fraggles were bald.
That turns out to be the most important part of the whole episode, though.
The more troubling part of this is not they set up the idea at first saying lived at a time when Fraggles were bald.
Mm-hmm.
But there were Fraggles with hair. They were just immediately banished.
Yeah.
So this was not like an evolutionary thing where all Fraggles were bald. This was a societal choice of the only Fraggles we allow in Fraggle Rock are bald Fraggles.
Right. Then the hairy Fraggles came back, I guess, at some point. Got rid
destroyed.
of all the bald Fraggles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they enter a sacred cave for some reason. I guess research for the play.
There's just some things that were like underexplained in a way that doesn't usually happen on this show.
No, this is definitely you're along for the ride episode, and you just kind of accept things as they come at you. It's like, all right. But they discover the ancient Fraggle cave drawing that has lots of hair. Boober is both scared and just generally reluctant to do all of this, which is not terribly surprising.
Duh.
And Mokey keeps telling them, hey, we have to stay in character. We're method acting here. I'm Blundig, your other random name that I forget at this moment, but we have to stay in character.
I liked Wembley being the no neck guy, and he would like stick his little head down like Uncle Fester style.
Mm-hmm.
I like the three idiots. It's like the episodes are like Joey and Rachel and Phoebe are hanging out.
Yeah,
and they're like, we're the fun ones.
Well, they are staying in character and they start chanting, and suddenly there's a bunch of smoke, and the cave drawing disappears. We just traveled back in time to the time of ancient Fraggles. What a big swing to go to do a time travel episode.
Especially, yeah, like I feel like there was a more like elegant way to handle it or something. I don't know. Like they could have even tied in the hall of tunnels that Matt found or something like that. Like but I don't know. I just the concept of this episode is so shaky that I don't know how else you do it, but I don't know why you do it in the first place.
I think one of the things that makes it not work as well is that we're not traveling back and learning more about something we already know. Like
That's a
we're
great point.
we're not
Yeah.
traveling back to learn more about Uncle Traveling Matt or the discovery of Fraggle Rock or the the moment they discovered radishes or gorgs for the first time kind of thing. We're
Oh,
inventing an
that's
entirely
disappointing.
new
Yeah.
history that we then have to
Right.
deal with, but then also we know doesn't really mean much because everything they're laying out is not anything the Fraggles deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Right. It's just some new bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are probably tons of things they could have drawn from. Yeah, like the discovery of the rock. That would have been really fun.
It feels a bit like modern Star Wars things to me, where we're going back to fill in gaps via an animated series or a TV show or a movie.
Uh-huh.
But because you know where everything ends up, a few years later canonically, you're like, oh, well, clearly this bad guy isn't that bad
Yeah,
because
because
he's not around in 5 years.
Luke Skywalker never utters his name. Like,
Right.
oh, there used to be dozens of red lightsabered guys running all over the place. Like, that didn't come up when Luke was doing his thing. He just slipped right through somehow.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, it's very interesting to go back and fill in gaps that were not asking to be filled. But in the time of ancient Fraggles, Fishface is their leader, and everyone mistakes Mokey for the actual Blundig, who, again, adding layers to this, is not supposed to be alive at this time. That is a legend that they are also aware of from their previous time.
But that she is coming? Is that the idea?
I think the prophecy is that Blundig is supposed to come back and rule them.
Yeah, like
point.
a King Arthur situation where she was ruler a long time ago. She was the once and future king kind of situation. Yeah. Okay. That's what I understood too, but I don't it doesn't make any sense.
No. They ask where are Red and Gobo because the Fraggles aren't quite sure yet that they've traveled back in time. They're just like, we stumbled into a weird part of the cave, a lot of new Fraggles, what's happening? And we learn that Gobo is a sacred word that shouldn't be uttered out loud because it means take off your hat.
And for them baldies, that's a big deal. They lose all the heat out the top of their head.
I think we've learned a bit about this before because during our Muppets of the Week segments, when we've talked about Gobo and Mokey, I think I maybe mentioned, because it was on Muppet Wiki, that Gobo means take off your hat.
Yes.
And that Mokey means put on your hat.
They're like, all of the characters have that little piece of trivia at the bottom of their Muppet Wiki.
Yeah.
And this is the episode where all of that comes from, which is kind of a letdown.
I think it would have been more interesting if the characters knew that's what their names meant. Like, as they were growing up, they were told as a kid, like, Gobo, that comes from the ancient Fraggle word meaning to take off your hat.
Right. If the storyteller had told them that or something.
Which would be extra funny because he has a hat collection.
Yeah. There's so many missed opportunities with Gobo's hat lately. The hat salesman, this.
Don't worry about it, because I think John Tartaglia agreed with you, because in Back to the Rock, they talk about that fool's hats all the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the hats go unmentioned in the entirety of the old series. So.
Yeah, in Back to the Rock, it's like they are aligned with us, and they are trying to make the hat collection as prominent as possible.
The more I think about the hat thing now, Boober's the hat guy.
Boober's got one hat.
I guess so. You can't.
He's
have
always
two
wearing
guys.
the same hat.
You can't
That's
have
boring.
two guys whose thing is liking hats a lot.
But I don't think Boober likes hats a lot.
He just needs to have that one hat. Because his lack of eyeballs was also very apparent in this episode.
Yeah, there's somewhere in there. He can just sense light like a worm or something.
I guess so. He needs little scooter eyes.
Well, when the other Fraggles all take off their hats, our Fraggles see that they are all bald, and they say,
confirming their fears. Because the whole time Boober's been like, I know this is what's happening, but it's too insane to possibly be true.
But that confirms, and they say, we're in the wrong time. And up in outer space, Doc is keeping up the prank. He says, oh, yes, Ned and Fluffinella have moved away years ago. And I would have moved away with them, but I wanted to wait here for you in case you came back.
What? What does that mean?
That feels like something that Ned wouldn't want to happen. But like, if I told you I was moving to Denver or something like that, you'd be like, well, all right, packing up the house. We got to move.
Well, it depends on, maybe I would.
I don't think you would. But at this moment, Doc is thirsty. He
Yeah,
needs to
I
take
was like, how fucking thirsty is this guy? He had to drink his tea that bad.
He lifts up his fake beard to take a sip, and Sprocket catches on.
Just don't drink tea in this particular moment.
Boober and Wembley are scared down in Fraggle Rock, but Mokey is surprisingly calm and wants to tell the other Fraggles what happened to them. But Fishface confronts them, and one of the Fraggles says that if you ain't Blundig, because you're pretending to be Blundig, we're going to tie you to a rock. And that's when Noodle Nose shows up, laughing at their accents and the way they speak.
Yeah.
Fraggle-ish, I guess. There's a nice touch where they do have a translation book with them for some reason.
Oh yeah, because she has like notes on Blundig's life, I think is what it is.
Yeah, so they're able to speak some, ancient words to these Fraggles, but apparently their accent gives them away.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very funny to Noodle Nose, who is laughing and laughing, which leads to us finding out that laughing is banned in this time.
Dragged away to prison.
Which I don't believe we see him get freed later on.
No, I thought they were going to bring him with them. I thought they were going to be like, there's a better place for you, Noodle Nose.
Yeah,
but
there's
no,
a
they
place
just
for Fraggles
leave
laugh
him
all
locked
day.
up. Yeah. They don't care about Noodle Nose. I guess they can't change the past that much.
I mean, they change it pretty dramatically, it would seem.
Yeah, that's true.
But Fishface is catching on to them while Mokey keeps up the lie. So Fishface challenges her to fulfill the prophecy and move the sacred boulders. And Mokey is going to go try. Don't really know what her plan is.
She puts together a whole song and dance to try to do it.
But that song comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it does.
It's called Voodoo Spell.
Not an episode that lends itself to songs that well. And the second song also comes out of nowhere.
Yes, this is a very unnatural Muppet Babies style song introduction.
Yeah.
But they're playing off the same sort of labyrinth, who do, you do, we do, voodoo.
Yep.
Very trippy, sort of like 60s rock inspired song. Mokey's really sort of screaming out the lyrics in this one, which was interesting.
Yeah, I liked this song. It just was, unnecessary.
Yeah. It's like a happy, bizarre, fun song, even though Mokey is supposed to be, trying to prove she's...
Maybe she just believes in herself, She thinks at the end of this she's going to do it.
But she doesn't, because she just yells at the boulder to move, and obviously that does not work.
Yeah.
So Mokey tells them that they are from the future, reveals her real name, which is when we find out Mokey means put on your hat. And we also learn Wembley means no scratch nose in public. And Boober means tie him to a rock. Which I couldn't tell if that was real or a joke. Because the way it's said, it could have just been they decided to tie them to a rock in that moment.
I don't think they make jokes, though,
That's true. They're not allowed. It's banned. Yeah. So they get tied up and thrown in prison, which is Wembley and Gobo's old cave.
Yes.
I guess this is their cave in the old times.
In the olden times.
It will be their cave in the future.
Yeah. Which maybe is for cost-saving reasons?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. This episode feels kind of cheap to me, too. It's just, not very, ambitious in a way, I guess.
Yeah, I can see that. But
there's no building. Yeah. The old Fraggles don't have, anything. No. They don't have, old relics or, ruins or something that they live in, the old Doozers did. The old Doozers
and they're
had,
a very
going on.
Middle of the story kind of they're not doing anything particularly interesting.
Yeah,
the interesting stuff happened before them and happens after them.
Yeah, their kingdom in decline. Fishface is a bad leader, and his breath stinks for some reason too.
He's a fish face.
I guess so. Yeah.
But yeah, this had major Lost vibes for me. For those that haven't seen Lost, there's an important cave in Lost that is
a vital cave
you see at multiple points in time, and you have that same realization. You're like, oh, holy shit, they're in the cave.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, this was less holy shit, they're in the cave, and more like, hey, it's the same
it's
cave.
That cave.
And Wembley's like, yeah, I miss Gobo. And I think it's Boober who says, yeah, but Gobo's not even born yet.
Mhm.
You're not allowed to miss him. And this launches Mokey into the second song, which is Still So Far, which is a song completely out of nowhere where Mokey sings about longing for the future.
Just a sad Mokey song, which I think she's done a couple times before. Just been sad out of nowhere.
I mean, it's kind of her thing, I think.
Yeah.
But after this, Mokey is able to untie herself
Yeah,
and
she
her
just
pals.
slips right out.
Yeah, the song didn't seem to give her magical powers or anything. She just sort of thought about it, I think, and was like, hey, what if this seems
I have
pretty
working
easy?
hands. I'm the only character in the whole show with working hands. So here we go.
So their plan is to return to the sacred cave to try and get back to their own time. And they devise a plan to get free, which is taking off their hats to show their hair to everyone, which is apparently, according to Noodle Nose, the most hilarious thing in the world.
Yeah. And it's
Causing-
right. There, he's right.
Yeah, causes all the Fraggles to illegally laugh. Fishface laughs and bumps into the sacred boulders, making them move. And now everyone's like, hey, wait a minute. Maybe you actually is Blundig. And they instantly turn on Fishface, who no
Yeah, they're
longer
gonna
has
like
any power
kill
here.
Fishface or something. I feel like I think even like Wembley and Boober are also like, yeah, let's get this guy.
Yeah, Mokey has to step in and be like, whoa, maybe we give up the great and wondrous leader thing as a concept.
Yeah.
And instead, dance your cares away. Leave your worries for another day.
I did like this part. And while she's telling them the futures, like it's like Bill and Ted where they're like, be excellent to each other. While she's saying this, it cuts to Wembley and Boober and they're like mouthing along with her. I thought that was fun.
But it is one of those time loopy things where she has maybe introduced the Fraggle Rock theme song
Yeah.
to the Fraggles.
The first time ever.
Mhm.
But who introduced it to her?
It's like
who
the
knows?
DeLorean in the Muppet Babies episode. It's been
That's
there the whole
right,
time.
It's been there forever.
I also like that at the end of the theme song when she's just reciting the lyrics, Wembley does his little
Yeah, I like that a lot too.
Well, they go back to the sacred cave, and Mokey is like, oh, I need to replace that drawing for some reason.
Yeah. Does she
so
realize that she's doing it though?
It doesn't
almost seems
feel like
she
she
doesn't know.
does.
Yeah.
Wembley and Boober are like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's like everybody is understanding what happened except for her.
Right. Yeah. She doesn't realize what the consequences of what she's done.
Yeah.
And the timelines are getting extremely wonky now. And that's sort of where it ends, as Doc is still trying to convince Sprocket to go back in the time machine because Sprocket's having some fun at this point.
Yeah.
Sprocket
This was
is
funny.
playing with Doc, and he's like, you know what? Nah, I
No,
don't want
I
to go in the
like
time
being
machine.
here."
You have to keep pretending to be an old man for a while. And so Doc is forced to admit at some point that he has been pranking Sprocket. And he's like, when did you find out? And Sprocket mimes drinking his tea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one of the only times I like the Doc and Sprocket storyline better than I like the Fraggle storyline.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't think this was definitely not a favorite episode of mine. It is quite the swing.
Yeah.
I love that they're trying something this strange in like the last 5 episodes of this show.
Uh-huh.
That's a bold choice. And they do a time loop episode in Back to the Rock season 2
Huh.
that at the time stood out to me when watching it of like, whoa, this feels really weird for Fraggle Rock to do a time travel episode.
But maybe it was an homage to this episode somehow?
Maybe. I think they definitely handle it better in Back to the Rock season 2. But again, we had no Gorgs, no Trash Heap, and no Doozers.
Yeah.
But how many stars did you give that episode?
I gave this one, I'm so torn between 2.5 and 3 because I didn't hate this episode and I thought it was really fun. But then it was also just like, what was the point of any of that? And I think you saying that there are aspects of, like, I maybe would have even preferred it if it had been no time travel and had just been like, here's what here's like how the Fraggles became how they are. There's none of the guys you know, but they're alluded to with these names and stuff like that. But it's just purely like how the Fraggles became fun without the time loop thing. I think yeah, discovering the rock and meeting the different characters that live near them would have been better. But I don't know, but it was still fun to watch, and like these 3 have never gotten to go on an adventure, just the 3 of them, I feel like. So it was fun to see that particular thing. So I don't know. I guess 2.5 maybe.
Yeah, I think more connection to the world of Fraggle Rock that we know and love would have made it, I don't know, better or show more contrast to the world that we know. Like if they had this, fish face, great and powerful leader who was really ruling like a dictator, and Mokey
Right.
was like, "Oh, Fraggle Rock sucked back then.
We
Like
gotta
we
get
need to
rid of
do
this
something to
guy."
fix Fraggle Rock."
Yeah.
And it laid it out a bit more clearly of how the Fraggle Rock of today came to be
Mm-hmm.
and what it could have been had Mokey not intervened. That could have been a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
But just the subtlety of her saying, "Hey, maybe don't try the whole leader thing," and also here's your theme song,
Yeah.
isn't necessarily a lot to go on.
I liked her introducing the theme song. I thought the theme song thing was pretty cute.
I don't know. I think if I gave star ratings, I might give it a 2 or a 2.5,
Okay.
right along with
Brutal.
you.
Yeah.
Well, our last episode this week is Ring Around the Rock from March 2nd, 1987, written by friend of the podcast, Sujith Varghese, his last Fraggle Rock episode. It's also directed by Terry Maskell.
I feel like this episode is similarly silly to the previous episode,
Mhm.
except so much better. Like a million times better, in my opinion.
This episode's an interesting one for me because there's things about it I don't like at all.
Okay.
But there are definitely parts I enjoy.
I could
I think this
honestly
is-
not tell you any particular second of this episode that I didn't like.
For me, it's the pacing and the structure. There has
Mhm.
never been a Fraggle Rock episode that cuts back and forth between
Oh,
worlds
I
faster.
liked that because usually they're like so often they are stalling for time, it feels like, and in this one they were not doing that.
Yeah, and I guess it does make it feel like everything's connected in a way that we don't
Mhm.
always get. But there's so much Doc and Sprocket cut together with Gorgs and Fraggles and Doozers and Philo and Gunge even get involved that it just felt like it was moving so fast and cutting back and forth between so many things that it was a little shocking structurally that it was so different from a regular episode.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's also interesting to me that when Sujith was here last time, or maybe he said this the first time, he had talked about when they were wrapping up the show that they each got to sort of like pick an episode that they were like, this is the one I want to go out on.
Yeah.
And he talked about writing his sort of goodbye episode. And I feel like he pitched it as sort of a goodbye to the Gorgs, like wrapping up their story.
Oh, sure. I remember that. Yeah.
And this is not what I expected. Not in a bad way. But this was not necessarily the episode I was imagining when he was telling us about that.
I mean, there is a part where it is literally almost goodbye to the Gorgs because they're all about to leave. But
Yes.
I mean, I guess it's almost like truly the Fraggles like making peace with the Gorgs.
Yeah, but I feel like we've seen that
they've
a few
done that
times
before.
already.
That's true.
I'm always a little confused every time the Gorgs react negatively towards a Fraggle again, where I'm like, really? Again?
Yeah. It's like the Gorgs are bored of reacting negatively to a Fraggle, but it is also a thing that's just tradition where they have to start it off with like the traditional, a Fraggle. And then immediately once that's done, they can be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah, because Ma had that whole episode with Red and the mirror. And then
And
in
she
this episode,
starts it
she's
off
like,
by going, a Fraggle. And then immediately is like, this mirror kicks ass, huh?
Yeah. But in this episode, she sees Gobo and is upset by him at first.
Yeah, right. Well, they have to. That's tradition.
And a tradition
Is
a tradition. Well, Doc and Sprocket are having problems with their pipes.
Yeah, I like that
Again.
Doc's like every year this seems to happen, which is pretty much every season there is an episode where he's in the floor with the pipes.
And Doc is attempting to fix the pipes while Sprocket turns on the water and sprays him in the face.
The idiot.
Yeah, I think he knew what
Doc
he was
don't
doing
know.
a little bit.
Doc don't know shit about pipes.
He's a tinkerer.
I like that Doc's also like, maybe we don't even need pipes. Yes, you do.
That is a bold choice. It's just like, whatever.
I would say maybe you don't need that many pipes under your floor. I'm not really sure what you're doing with all those pipes, but
Yeah, like how many pipes do you need? Like I've been in my crawl space and there's
Yeah.
like 3 pipes.
and you look at the pipes and you're like, that one brings the water in. That one
Yeah.
makes my poop go away. That one makes my sink drain. But they all like those ones all go to the same pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the pipe that brings it in and the pipe that brings it out. Doc
Mhm.
has hundreds of pipes and some of them are shooting steam. None of my pipes are shooting steam ever.
Same here. I mean, we also don't have Fraggles living in our walls, which maybe they're messing up stuff more often.
I suppose like there's a pipe that just goes to the doozers. Like,
Yeah.
what's that pipe for? It wasn't hooked up to anything at the top or at the bottom. Who put the pipe there? And if I had a pipe like that, I would notice and go, I don't. What is this pipe?
How would you notice?
Because I can see all my pipes in the ceiling.
You're not
If I
going
had
to
a
the other
pipe
end of the pipe.
that wasn't connected to anything on my side, though, I think I'd be like, I better at least put a cover on this pipe, I guess.
Maybe there was a time where the doozers and humans lived side by side in
Oh,
a
and they're
community.
talking through the pipe. Hey,
Yeah.
hey,
Hello
up there. Oh, he would love doozers because they're tinkerers too.
I'd like to see Doc with a doozer.
Yeah, me too.
Well, Junior Gorg is tending to the garden as Ma Gorg throws Pa Gorg out of the house and says, "Never darken these doors again until you've made an honest Gorg of me."
I did think this episode was going to be like they were never really married in the first place, which would have been funny too. Or like they hadn't been married the whole time.
Yeah, the way they talk about it, it's not quite as lore heavy as the previous episode.
Yeah.
They do introduce some concepts that you kind of have to just keep up with along the way.
It does make sense that Pa would be the kind of guy also who'd be like, "Don't worry, baby, I'll marry you someday." 513 years later.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, we had to date for 515 years first before I decide to marry you.
Yeah.
But yes, he has forgotten their 513th anniversary.
Well, there's a good line where he's like, "I just woke up. I did not have time to forget."
Yeah. He's like, you can't tell me that I forgot because I haven't been up long enough for you to be sure that I forgot. But he did forget their 513th anniversary, and Gorgish tradition says that they have to renew their vows of love every 513 years.
And passion, because they do pretty directly say, we cannot have sex again until
yes,
we get married again.
For until you get married again, you have to behave like you are not married.
Yeah. And Pa's like, well, let's go get to it.
Let's
then.
hurry
I think
up.
He literally says that. And she's like, no,
It must be a proper wedding with all the trimmings. And so she even gives back the wedding ring for now to be like, we are, as far as we're concerned, not married today. Then we got a little quick random scene of Gobo exploring some neat new caves that for a while doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Gobo's here too.
They just cut to Gobo. He's like, oh, wow, a neat new cave. And then we cut back to the Gorgs.
Uh-huh.
Junior found the royal saxophone.
Is this a different instrument than he was playing that one time?
I think
it might be too, but it looks pretty similar, or like conceptually similar.
Yeah, I don't remember. There's a lot of things about Fraggle Rock that I wish my memory was better because they all feel a little familiar. Yeah. And I can't tell if they're just adjacent or if they're actually the same thing.
I remember back in the day, I hated Gorg so much. But this song, I love this song. And I love that Junior. So they're playing the traditional Gorg proposal song, and all three of them are singing, and it's beautiful. But I
give to thee.
I love when Junior has his little Lisa Simpson moments and starts really wailing on that saxophone. And
he goes a little overboard,
threatening to like beat him up. I think it's very funny.
Notable in the lyrics, Pa says the line, "Courage is keen as a bulldog's bow wow." How's he know what a bulldog is?
When they're singing songs, we've established this before. When they're singing
That's been
songs,
a Fraggle rule. I don't know if we've ever heard the Gorgs sing something so blatantly outer spacey.
Right. Yeah, maybe you're right. I mean, they grow all the regular fruits and vegetables that outer space grows.
But I'm fine with that. We have established that in the world of the Gorgs, there are very few other creatures.
Yeah. There's
a couple birds, one frog guy.
Yeah, there's one bird. That's right.
But yeah, to say a bulldog's bow wow.
Well, he remembers when there were bulldogs around.
Well, they give Junior a super long list of things to do for the wedding. First thing he's got to do is take care of the ring. And Junior's a little bit of a brat. Like, I think he's entering his teenage Gorg years, it feels like. Because he's like, I feel like in the past, he has been a doting son who will do anything his mom and pa ask of him.
Now, yeah.
In this, he literally says, traditions, who needs them?
Yeah.
And I'm like, who's that guy?
Yeah. He has been obsessed with following all the rules to be the king.
To everyone's detriment.
Season. Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, maybe this is showing growth on his end.
I suppose, but he also loves mushy stuff. He's loved his parents being so in love before too, I think.
Yeah.
But by the end of this, he is kind of like, he's into it. He's like a little bit excited to plan this wedding, I think.
Well, yeah, but I think obviously the thing that makes him distracted from enjoying the wedding is what happens next. He likes Ma's ring, and so he wants to try it on. But it gets stuck. And as he yanks it off, it flies down the hole and hits Gobo on the head. Gobo gets so excited, he instantly runs off to give the ring to Wembley, while the Gorgs are sad. And Ma tells Junior that Pa and Ma will have to be apart forever if they don't give that ring back. So Junior starts digging, looking for the ring, and there's a really cool effect where Gobo is experiencing this from underground,
Yeah.
and dirt is falling all over him, and you see the room like rumbling and shaking.
That was really cool.
And I like that connection between the two worlds.
Yeah, and he just reaches into a different scene and pulls Gobo out of it.
And he tells Gobo about the ring. Gobo tells him, I gave it away. Which, to be fair, doesn't feel like a huge problem right now, but they're playing big dramatic music.
Right. Because I guess we don't know yet that the ring has gone on a grand adventure.
Right. At this point, we just know Gobo gave the ring to Wembley, and Junior needs it back.
But I like that Gobo feels bad and isn't like, fuck you, bud.
Or that they don't try to invent drama where he's like, I gave it to my friend, and he really liked it, so I think you're going to have to accept this loss, bud.
Or that Junior's not even like, if you don't get the ring, I'll bite your head off. They're just both like, oh, no, this sucks.
Yeah. They're both thinking of Ma and Pa first.
Yeah.
So Wembley is trying to decide who to give the ring to next, and this is when he can't decide, so he tosses it, where it ends up in Boober's radish ratatouille. Cut back up to the gourd garden. Gobo vows to get the ring back for Junior, but Ma and Pa want to start the wedding right now. So Gobo tells Junior to stall. And this is one of the moments where they allude a little bit to the sexy times.
Yeah, where they're like, we have to have sex, Junior. You have to let us get married now.
They say more, what they actually say is they're like, we're looking forward to the wedding. You know, the flowers, the cake, the honeymoon.
Yeah, they're not hiding this anymore. Children are going to start asking questions.
Which is funny because I think also the last time Sujith was here is when he talked about the fact they always tried to sneak in some subtle Ma and Pa flirty things. And then he wrote like the most blatant episode yet.
Well, it's his last one.
Yeah,
the original
gotta
script,
go out with a bang.
The original script ended with a full sex scene.
Well, Mokey takes the ring from Boober. She's going to use it in an art piece, while Junior continues to stall by trying to check off everything on the very long list of wedding tasks. And then we cut back, and Wembley and Gobo are looking for the ring in the pot where he last remembered seeing it. But Boober tells him that it's probably already been incorporated into Mokey's art, which we learn is a whoopee wreath.
I like that Boober actually says it's probably a piece of fine art by now. And then Boober and then Gobo and Wembley are both like, oh, you gave it to Mokey.
Yeah, they don't need any more spelling out than that. They're like, you gave it to Mokey? Well, Red does smash through the whoopee wreath, and Mokey gives Red the remains of the whoopee wreath, which is the ring.
I think one thing that I'm realizing now with this scene in particular that I like a lot about this show is how often the characters are like, it's not a big deal. Like so little about what they do, like so little of the like their hobbies and stuff like that are like they don't ever make a big deal about people destroying stuff or and when they do, it's such an anomaly. Like when Mokey was jealous of other people's art, that then the whole point of the episode is like, you got to reframe this in a healthier way. And I think that's a really good lesson, I think, for kids to learn, is that some things just aren't a big deal. But I think some people go through their lives thinking everything is a big deal. And that's so miserable to be that way.
Yeah, I think we see that in episodes where, birthdays are sort of treated casually too, where it's just like, oh yeah, like you want to have a birthday, let's have a birthday. And then even in episodes where they do have someone taking things a little bit too seriously, usually the lesson at the end of the day is, hey, chill, dude.
Yeah, you played hockey too hard and now you hurt everybody and yourself very badly.
Yeah. So once Mokey gives the remains of the wreath, which is the ring, to Red, Red throws it. I don't really remember why.
Mokey gives it to her and Red's just like, oh, check this out. She just hucks it.
Well, she throws it and hits Uncle Traveling Matt right in the head.
Yeah.
Which is a nice reveal that Uncle Traveling Matt's even hanging around right now.
Yeah, I kind of liked seeing him in this. I like him better now that we don't have to put up with him telling a stupid story every week, for sure.
Yeah.
And that they've really hung a hat on that he is obnoxious. Like, there's no question that he's obnoxious and everybody just like is putting up with him.
Yeah, he never makes things better.
Yeah. Now when he shows up, it's like, just like the scene where he's in that hammock and they're all talking about the plot, and then he's like, "Well, I'm gonna ruin everything now." I think
Yeah.
that's a good character.
Yeah, but he gets hit in the head with the ring and says, "This is a rather lethal object. I shall take it to outer space and dispose of it." Back up in the Gorg world, Pa is laying it on thick, explaining, "No, Junior, you don't understand. I need to have sex with your mom."
Yeah, I'm gonna literally faint.
He says,
too
"My
horny."
passion hath no patience."
It's dangerous. It's dangerous to keep it all in like that.
Well, this is the point at which Junior must admit that he lost the ring. And then we cut back to Uncle Traveling Matt heading out into outer space. So we assume he must have gotten rid of the ring. So Gobo returns to tell Junior that the ring is gone for good.
Yeah, Gobo's pretty comfortable in outer space and with Sprocket, though. So maybe this doesn't entirely ring true to me.
Why would Gobo stop himself from going out into
Yeah.
outer space and checking to see what happened to the ring?
When he could say, "Hey, hairy guy, you got a ring
Yeah.
out there? Here you go."
This would be like if, Sam and Frodo set out on their adventure and everyone's like, "Thank goodness that ring got destroyed." You're like, "Wait, the ring got destroyed?" He's like, "Well, they went over there, so I
Yeah,
assume
they
they
have
must have
no
destroyed the ring by
object
now."
permanence, yeah.
Well, when Gobo goes back to tell Junior the ring is gone for good, Junior faints, which Ma and Pa had previously fainted when they found out the ring was
Yeah,
gone.
they're all fainted.
Up in the workshop, Sprocket has backed Uncle Traveling Matt into a corner,
Rude.
especially since he knows Gobo at this point. Like, he is
Yeah,
friends
he
with
knows-
Fraggles.
He knows these guys. He's met several of them.
Maybe he also just knows Matt sucks.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, this guy's boring.
So Matt throws the ring down as Sprocket chases him out through the doggy door.
Kills him. If Matt never shows up again, that means Sprocket killed him.
Canonically true.
Yeah.
Well, Doc comes in and says, "Did you find that new washer, Sprocket?" And Doc
guess
sees
so.
the ring and goes, I
Here's
guess
a
you did.
Big, giant, ornate golden washer.
That's not flat at all like washers are supposed to be.
Doc could be an incredibly rich man.
Yeah, the size of that ring seemed to shift a few times.
A little, but I did appreciate like getting to see what the relative scale sort of was.
Yeah, I think it's just not 100%. Like, the
Yeah.
first time it hits Gobo, to me, it looks bigger than when Gobo is carrying it around.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, it seems like
Yeah.
it shrinks a little bit when the Fraggles need to start handing it off to each other.
But the ring is like, I feel like the ring could like go up to like the middle of my forearm or something. So that's like how big a Gorg's
That's
whole
a
finger.
Gorg. One
is.
Gorg ring finger is the size of a forearm.
Ooh, scary.
Yeah.
I really wish that they had figured out a way to like have Junior like poke his head out of something like over the town just to see what it was like.
Get one shot that reveals the true size of a Gorg.
Yeah.
I think that's too troubling. And potentially mass devastation.
Well, he'd have to like go out at night, like a little sneak, and be like, I have no choice. And just like walk past one house. I just want to see how big he is compared to one. I guess they're like 3 stories tall.
Yeah, they're supposed to be 2 to 3 stories tall, I think. But yeah, Doc could report, there was an earthquake last night, Sprocket.
Yeah, it was Junior farting around out there.
Well, Doc drops the ring/washer down the pipes, and it clatters down into Fraggle Rock, right into a doozer's wagon, as the doozer is driving and says, "It's all about timing." Which,
Yeah, I love that guy.
Sure, I guess.
He's having a great day.
I really hope we get to see some more doozers before the end of this series, because
Me too.
if the Trial of Cutterpin Doozer is the last doozer
that is
heavy
a
episode,
downer, yeah.
that's going to be a bummer. Well, Junior decides to run away from home in disgrace because he lost the ring, but he bumps into Pa, who is also leaving the kingdom. And he's going to abdicate the throne because he can't be with the Gorg he loves.
How big is that sword, huh? That's a fucking cool looking sword, too.
Yeah, it's like a Power Ranger sword.
Yeah, it's like Goldar's sword.
That's what we really need.
Yeah.
We need a Gorg fighting Goldar.
Goldar. I think Goldar would be friends with the Gorgs. I think he'd be like, this place isn't so bad.
Yeah, I could see Junior being in the little,
Yeah,
Rogues
he could be
Gallery
hanging out.
Rita's
he could
got
be hanging
there.
out with Whipple.
We
or
both know
whatever
who we're
the fuck
thinking.
that guy's name is. Yeah.
Yeah. The one who's friends with the monkey guy.
Yeah.
Philo and Gunge are back, and they're roaming around in Fraggle Rock looking for trash for Marjorie, which is apparently a thing they do.
Yeah, they got us. You got to get her trash from somewhere. Oh,
how
the
she
Gorgs only
lives.
produce organic waste, I feel like.
Are
In
you trying-
in radishes and stuff. Everything else they have to kind of like
Oh, I thought you were trying to say Marjorie
Not
was
there.
made of Gorg poop.
not their poop. No, I think they have a chamber pot in there somewhere. No,
But
they're
where's
just
that
throwing
get dumped,
radishes.
Sam?
In the river, probably.
Yeah, they don't care about that.
Nah. If you're the only creature in the entire world, you can dump all the poop you want in the river. You're never gonna make a dent. You're only helping, probably, honestly.
Well, they see the ring get dumped out by the doozer. I like the doozer also didn't really care about the ring.
Yeah, his job is to dump trash, and he has more trash to dump now.
Yeah.
That's fun for him.
So up in the Gorg world, Pa dubs Junior protector of the realm. But Ma is also going to leave the
She's leaving
kingdom
too.
because she can't be with Pa. So Junior confronts Ma and Pa and encourages them to give a different gift instead of the ring. Clearly, you two want to be together, so
Yeah.
just be together.
I think the message of this episode is really, it seemed, what I took away from it was like traditions do have their place,
Yeah.
and the evolution of tradition is also vital to keeping everyone from losing their minds.
Right. Like if it's literally damaging your life, like maybe try to, unpack that tradition and
Yeah.
see if you can
Give
change it up a
Gobo
little
instead
bit.
of a ring.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily end well for Gobo because
No.
Junior's first idea is let's give a different gift. Let's give each other Fraggles
Yeah.
for wedding gifts.
Well, the Gorgs will have to be a little bit menacing.
And then we get the surprisingly traditional wedding march played as they walk down the aisle.
Yeah, it just is the wedding march.
It just is, here comes the bride.
Yeah, and I kept thinking it would be like there'd be some off note or something, but nope.
Junior has Gobo in his hand and a Bible
I
in
guess
the other.
I think it's the Bible. That's what I'm choosing to think it's the Bible.
The Gorgish Bible.
Yeah.
Which asks a lot more questions than we're able to dive into. Maybe we'll have Sujith back to tell us the religion of the Gorgs. And we cut back to Marjorie, who is dealing with a little fight between Philo and Gunge, who can't decide who should have the ring. And she decides, hey, you know what? None of us get to have it. She tosses it, and it lands perfectly in the Gorg Bible that Junior is holding.
Always nice to see Marjorie pop up, I say.
Especially when she's actually helpful.
Yeah. Which she has been doing a great job at being lately.
But that wraps up the Gorg/Fraggle story in this episode, where, hey, problem solved, the ring is back, and the Gorgs can get happily married and go off and bone.
Go have sex.
Go have sex. And in Doc and Sprocket's world, the pipes are still broken. And Doc ties this whole thing together, saying that, you know what, Sprocket, it seems like bad plumbing is a tradition for us.
Boo. What a weird thing to say.
Well, it gets even weirder because then Sprocket holds up a Frisbee, and Doc's like, you're suggesting a new tradition, which I guess is fuck off and play Frisbee when you've got plumbing problems.
We don't need working, running water. We need to play Frisbee. We'll just live in our own filth from now on.
Yeah, it does not solve your problem at all, Doc. When you come back, those pipes will still be there, still be broken.
I also think at some point at the end, one of the characters at the Gorg wedding says, I don't know how, but everything worked out, which is also a nice lesson to teach children, I think.
I think that's also what Doc's kind of hoping for, is that he's going to come back and somehow the pipes will have fixed themselves.
Which is not impossible. If a doozer runs across those pipes, I think they would say, oh boy, this can simply not stand.
I think there is a lesson in there somewhere of, sometimes you got to walk away from your problems and come back to it later.
Yeah.
But that's not really what the lesson is here.
No.
But yeah, what would you rate that episode overall there, Sam?
I gave that one 4 stars. I fucking love that episode. I thought it was
so
a great
interesting.
time.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I think after we had Mudwell the Mud Bunny, I was so set up for some real bangers this batch.
I mean, in my opinion, it was a real banger, but I liked that there was a dark banger and there was a light banger. And then in the middle, there was just some weird bullshit. I think it was like a good balance of episodes this week. They couldn't all three be. I feel like if all 3 had been bangers, it would have been too much. But there was a fluff episode, and then a kind of. I just really like when everybody's involved. I think that to me makes for a 4-star episode generally.
Yeah, I think what would make it more of a 3-ish star for me is because it's a little bit convenient the way everyone is linked together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a lot of just throwing a ring and it lands in a convenient location and it keeps getting thrown around and landing in more convenient locations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's not necessarily about how your actions impact each other as much as it is like, oh, hey, I found a cool ring.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think,
That's true.
like, I like everyone interacting with each other, but I also like when it's a bit more consequential.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had Gorgs, we had Doozers, we had Trash Heap. It made up for the last few episodes where we didn't have any of those things. And that does it for this batch of Fraggle Rock episodes.
How many do we have left?
We only have 4 more episodes of
So
Fraggle
next
Rock.
week is the last week of Fraggle Rock.
No, so the way we're going to do it.
Oh, it's our birthday next week.
Yeah, so next time we've got our surprise birthday picks episode. The week after that, we're going to do episodes 10, 11, and 12, leaving ourselves with a bit of a cliffhanger episode.
Okay.
And then the week after that, we will be back to discuss the very last episode of Fraggle Rock,
Right.
as well as Down at Fraggle Rock, the behind-the-scenes documentary, and the wrap party film, Fraggles Look for Jobs. So that'll be the true celebration of the end of Fraggle Rock.
Bittersweet day coming up.
We're getting...
Because this show, I think individually, I was thinking about this morning. I think individually, there aren't a ton of perfect episode of Fraggle Rocks. I think individually there aren't a ton of perfect episodes of Fraggle Rock. I think there are perfect episodes of Fraggle Rock, but I think as a whole, this is like the perfect version of what a puppet show should be to me. Like,
yeah,
I don't know how it could get better than this. And maybe Back to the Rock is better or equal to, but like this is, I don't know, I think I said this before too, but like if I was Jim, I would look at Fraggle Rock and be like, this is what I came here to do.
Yeah. I think the number one thing that I always, we've talked about it a number of times, but I always forget it's a puppet show, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Like, yeah. I do not think at all about the puppetry during these episodes because it doesn't draw attention to itself. And the times it does, it's only because it's extremely impressive.
Because it's so good that you stop and be like, how and why did they take the time to do that? But I'm so glad they did.
Like the Fraggles feel extremely real as characters, which obviously the Muppets do too, like especially when they're treated well by like the celebrities and stuff they're interacting with.
Yeah.
But yeah, Fraggles, because they're in their own sort of enclosed world, it's really easy to just forget that you're watching a bunch of hands in pieces of fleece or whatever. Yeah. Well, before we get out of here, Sam, gotta ask, what non-Muppet things did you enjoy this week?
I'm on the Muppet Wiki, and I just saw a clip of the Muppet, and I just saw a clip of the Fraggle Rock cartoon, and then it gave me a really bad feeling.
So. Yeah, that is true. When we say we're done with Fraggle Rock soon, we are done with the puppets of Fraggle Rock, but we do have the animated series coming up soon in our timeline.
It was like they were like walking, and I could see their feet, and I was like, what? Get out of here.
Yeah, we're going to tackle that one in both the best and worst way, I think, for our sanity.
We're going to cram it, right?
We're going to cram it into 2 episodes.
Okay.
So we're going to do 6 episodes all at one time. And we're going to do 2 episodes where we talk about 6 episodes of Fraggle Rock, the animated series. Clearly not for as long as we talk about Fraggle Rock episodes. We're not going to be here for 8 hours.
Oh, no, I hope not.
But we'll talk about sort of the overall vibe of the show, our feelings on it, and sort of like we did probably more with like the Muppets Mayhem, where it was an overall review, not episode by episode breakdown. But yeah, I think I don't want to spend 8 episodes talking about that show.
No.
But I also don't want to watch 6 episodes of it in 1 week. So damned if we do, damned if we don't.
Well, anyway, I had a really busy week, so I didn't really watch that much stuff. But I did play, I hooked my old Dreamcast back up.
Ooh.
And the cool thing about Dreamcast is that the way that they burn their CDs was just like, they just burn CDs. So you can pretty much get a pirated version of every Dreamcast game. Whereas like with a GameCube game, you can't get a disc of a GameCube game.
Right.
Or like a PlayStation won't read like a regular CD or something like that.
Right.
But the Dreamcast just use regular CDs and no like protections or anything like that. So I bought like a
I'm
bunch
starting
of
to see maybe why they had some issues.
yeah, that could that could be part of it. But when I was a kid, Dreamcast was my favorite system only because of the vibes of it. The sounds were great. The games were like really quirky, almost entirely like Japanese games that were just like not the kind of games you'd play on Nintendo 64. But then there was also like the big ones like Sonic Adventure, which is what I was playing a lot this week, which is still so fun. It's like so clunky, but it just they all just have such a great vibe, and the voice acting is so specific, and it all just like tickles my brain. But I also was playing Jet Set Radio, which is like
Mm.
a rollerblading graffiti kind of like not proto Tony Hawk Pro Skater, but like a worse version of Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And Marvel versus Capcom, which is great. Marvel versus Capcom 2. But yeah, mostly my Dreamcast is what I've just been playing for like 20 minutes here and there, doing a Sonic level and being like, oh yeah, I remember that. I could quote this entire script of Sonic Adventure. I still remember driving home when I lived in Butte from Missoula with my Dreamcast that we had bought in Missoula at the mall, looking at the Sonic Adventure case, the same exact one that I still have. I was like looking at the disc of it and it doesn't have a single scratch on it. And I thought, I've never taken care of anything in my life as well as I think I took care of this copy of Sonic Adventure. It is pristine.
The
So,
Dreamcast is such a fascinating console to me because it's one of the few I didn't own. Like, I
mm-hmm.
have been lucky enough to own most gaming consoles that have existed until, I stopped buying Xboxes with
Because who couldn't even know what Xbox you're supposed to buy?
the Xbox 360 was the last Xbox I owned, for the
Yeah,
record.
me too.
But up until then, I had like all of the PlayStations, all the Xboxes, all the Nintendos.
Mm-hmm.
The Dreamcast, for some reason, was the only one I skipped.
I think that
And
was common.
I think so too, which is, again, probably
Why
telling.
it didn't take off, yeah.
But I always like the look of Dreamcast games. Like, they had a very specific style to
Yeah.
them, in a way that I admired from afar.
They're very rarely, and I don't know anything about the technology of why this would be, but they're very rarely like muddy in the same way that Nintendo 64 games were.
Right.
I feel like they fit in right between.
They felt shiny.
Yeah, they're like a colorful version of like a PlayStation 1 game or something like that. I don't know. They're such a weird intermediary because the graphics do seem a little better than PlayStation 1. I think they relied a lot more on like 2D elements and like color and really stylized stuff to, I don't know, just do something a little different. But it's just such a peaceful. I miss when video game systems would just play like the like the droning like menu music,
The opening,
where you're just like, okay, I'm about to relax and have fun.
To be fair, I think that's an option on the PS5 that I have turned off, is just background
The relaxing
music.
I feel like consoles these days are trying so hard. The Switch is not like this, but the Switch is kind of stripped down and it doesn't have droning music in the background.
Yeah.
The Switch, but systems these days feel so much like they're trying to be serious like media centers, like where you can watch your movies and you can watch stuff, where they don't indulge in the little like, this is kind of for kids. Like,
I think that's why Xbox lost both of us, is when they were like, this is more than a gaming console.
Yeah.
This is a TV in a box.
Yes.
And you're like,
I don't have time
know that
to
I care about that.
Yeah, I can't comprehend what you're telling me, and I don't have time. I have a TV and I have a box, so I don't need another one.
I do like going back though and playing the old consoles. Like, I have an N64, I have a Sega, and going back and playing some of those games that you played 1,000 times when you were a kid,
yeah,
is like one of the few sort of time travel-y nostalgic things you can do.
Well, anyway, what have you been doing?
It's also been a very video game heavy week for me.
Okay.
I played Thank Goodness You're Here, the British
right.
comedy game that I think we talked about last time.
Mm-hmm.
It only takes a few hours. It's a pretty short game. It's pretty good, not great.
Okay.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to people just like on the street or whatever, because I do not know the person who would like this game or who would hate it. Like,
okay.
I would have a hard time knowing who to recommend this to, because it is really weird. It gets weirder in some parts than you think it's even going to get. It has some of that, if you like regular show,
Oh, okay.
I think that's the kind of humor to expect from Thank Goodness You're Here.
Is it like it's like escalating to complete absurdity, kind of like starts out such a normal thing that you're trying to do, and by the end you are facing a demonic entity or something like that?
It doesn't go quite as far as regular show in that regard, but I think as far as like some characters who you're like, you're maybe a little unsettling for how cute of a setting this is. Like, you're kind of creeping me out.
Right.
Definitely have those guys in this little small town. But your character is this tiny little guy who is helping out the town, and sometimes you get like crammed into a pipe and have to go through and find tools. Other times you're hanging out in like a rat hole, and like your size sort of changes depending on where you need to be and help out. But yeah, it's fun. It's quick. I think I would recommend playing it in like 1 or 2 sittings if you can, just because I think this would be a very easy game to put down and forget about.
I just forget completely. Yeah.
If you like weird, absurd things like that, I think it's a good one to take on. On the flip side, I also started playing for the first time this week Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yeah, I saw you were doing that on Be Real.
This is a game that ever since it was announced, I was like, that looks like it might be my jam. And for some reason, just never committed to buying it. I had heard some people talking about like parts of it got a little too complicated for them, or they didn't really love certain strategies of it. And so I just sort of avoided it. And then I saw it was on sale this past week for like 60% off or something. And I went ahead and grabbed it. And now I'm sort of obsessed with it.
Okay. What kind of game is it?
The best way I could describe it is that it feels like Red Dead Redemption 2, but you're a samurai.
Okay, cool. I thought it was a Dark Souls type of game for some reason, but
no. I think the reason it probably feels that way is the thing I'm a little worried about might get more complicated is there's a lot of like recommended techniques and parrying and the way you fight. There's different stances. And it feels like it could become a little overly complicated, but it's not nearly as complicated as I thought based on some reviews.
Okay.
And I don't think those things matter as much as...
Sure. You can find a way to get through it without really...
Right. Because it's like, here's a stance that's good against fighting swords.
Yeah.
Here's a stance that's good against fighting people with shields.
Right.
Here's a stance against fighting people with spears. But I don't think... Like, it makes it easier... But so far, they haven't given me specific missions where it's like, you can only use this method to finish this mission.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like a big open world where you're riding around. People stop you and they're like, hey, help. I heard tell of a thing happening out there in the woods. Can you go solve it for me? And so, but the cooler thing about being the samurai is that everyone is like, oh, you're so cool. You're a samurai. I love you so much. Thank you, sir. You're not just a random cowboy who's causing trouble.
Right.
So I guess like you're never going to be in trouble. Like other than there are bad guys that you're fighting, but like anything you're doing is seen as good.
You are working in service of the powers that be.
Correct.
Okay.
And like most other samurais in the area have been essentially killed off, and so you're like sort of the last samurai.
Okay, so you don't have a wanted rating.
No, okay. But it's fun. It's a fun game. You get to dress up your guy in like different samurai outfits, and
love to hear that you get to dress up your guy.
You can like collect flowers and dye them different colors, like in Zelda.
Cool.
You get to wear cool masks, upgrade your sword. I think it seems like it's something that you would enjoy.
Yeah, those are all the things I like to do.
There's also a Kurosawa mode you can play it in that makes it black and white and grainy.
Oh, that sounds good.
So yeah, those are my 2 very, very different game recommendations for the week. But next week, Sam, we already know what we're watching because we talked about it earlier.
It's my birthday. What are you getting me?
I'm getting you The Flintstones from 1994.
Thank you.
We are going to be watching the 1994 film The Flintstones and the first 3 episodes of the Seth Green television vehicle, Greg the Bunny.
I'm pumped. I hope that one isn't extremely problematic. I apologize in advance if it is.
Yeah, I don't think Flintstones is, but
No,
we can't vouch for Greg the Bunny.
No.
It is early 2000s sitcom humor, so there might be some things that won't stand the test of time.
Yeah.
but hopefully it's not the majority of the episodes.
No, I don't think it will be.
And before we really get out of here, we got to thank our friend Tuna for making the music for this podcast and Cassie Wilson for singing our theme song. Don't forget to go to Kermitment.com for your commitment needs. And don't forget to rate and review this podcast wherever that's possible. We appreciate it. We read them. We like them. We'll read some out on the podcast in the future. You can also email us nice things if you want at mail@Kermitment.com. Or you can also follow us on every social media platform at KermitmentPod. Or you can also follow me at Matthew Gatos.
And I'm Sam Schultz.
And as always, keep believing.
Keep pretending.